Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome all of you to the next edition of the XRP Army News. We are all in for a treat today. We have BooBoo from Love for Crypto, and she is going to just have a conversation with me basically about how she found the crypto space, where she feels like things are now, where we're heading, and basically anything and everything else that our conversation leads into is up for grabs. So, BooBoo, would you like to introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are, and let's get this thing started.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me on. Okay. Well, my nickname outside of Twitter and YouTube is actually BooBoo. So I'm Auntie BooBoo. So it is actually my name, apart from at work. Came into the crypto community quite by accident. I was living away for quite some time and came back to Eastbourne, which is where I'm living now. And I was speaking to one of my mother's mates, and she said to me, "Have you ever heard of XRP?" And I said, "No." "What is it?" She went, "Cryptocurrency." I went, "Oh, that Bitcoin thing." As you do. And yeah, I said I took a look into that a long time ago. I mean, I was looking at it back in 2012, 13, and I couldn't work out how to buy it. And I just automatically assumed it was a scam. Backtrack a little bit. I've been in financial services since 1987. So I have seen all the changes come and go, the compliance side of it, the financial conduct authorities, all the different permeations all the way back. Basically, you know, I deal with pensions and investments. So she knows that. And basically, she turned and said to me, she said, "If I told you that XRP was enabling people to make transactions in 4 seconds and is going to overtake the SWIFT system," I went, "I'm there." Bang. Where do I get it? How do I get it? What do I do? Where do I sign up? So she put me in touch with her son, Jamie, who explained a little bit more about it. He literally held my hand through that first bit. I mean, back then, and we're going back to, I did research and then I said, right, I'm ready. And that was September 2018. I bought my first XRP. I think it was the 29th of September 2018. And back then you had to transfer your money from your bank to Coinbase, move it to Coinbase Pro, buy Ethereum or Bitcoin, move it to Coinbase Pro, and then get it to Binance, and then you could get the XRP on Binance. And it was a ball ache. Things have absolutely got so much better since then. I'm all for keeping things simple.
Yeah, me too. It's interesting. I'm very grateful that Coinbase finally did add XRP. I wonder what was the holdup there, but just grateful now that they've made it a lot easier for us.
Yeah, but what I did was I went off and I found other ways of doing it. So I've got accounts with, I don't know, 14 different exchanges. And what I've done, I mean, what I tried to do was I sort of found a niche for myself, and I don't go live very often and I don't put videos up very often, but I sort of jumped into the YouTube thing for, I haven't gone live in quite a while, but I jumped into the YouTube thing, and my stance is basically about the exchanges, who's good and bad, who's given us bad customer service, warnings to people on when things go wrong. You know, I got scammed out of 1.3 million pundy. How that happened? Well, you know, it happens. I'm glad they done it with that and not with XRP. You know, these things are sent to try us, and everything happens for a reason. I actually believe that there is a reason for everything, and everything happens for a reason, and it's all part of a bigger plan. So what I started to do was I started to feed people back. I I made it very verbal about Wirex. When I started to endorse them, and then things started happening. People lost money. We think it was an inside hack. And he could have lost an awful lot more. I ended up having, embarrassing situations in supermarkets where the card wasn't working, but there was money on there. It's little things like that. One of my good friends from the zoo, Chris Chisney, he got stuck on the underground because he was using his Wirex card, and that's all where he had his money. And when they stopped that working, he couldn't get out of the London Underground. It's ridiculous. And you can't do that. If you've got a Visa credit card attached to your cryptocurrency exchange account, you expect that to be able to work at all times. And it wasn't just once. This wasn't just a glitch or anything like that. It was something that was happening more regularly. And then my sister phoned me and she said, I've just bought £50 worth of, I think it was WRX or something like that, because she wanted to dabble. She said, and as soon as I bought it, she said, it's worth £36. And I went, that can't be right. I said, even the highest fees in the world would never do that to you. Come on.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Steep, right? And basically she got in touch with the customer service, and their response was, well, you agreed the purchase. You agreed it at that price. And she went, I'm expecting you to, because when they first come out, they basically turned around and said, and I won't rehash over old things, but basically they turned around and said, we don't have fees. What we do is we charge you between the top 10 exchanges that we work with. We don't give you the lowest price. We don't give you the highest price. We give you somewhere in the middle, and that's where we make our money, right? So makes sense. Then they started introducing these fees and everything like that. But the hidden charges that were sitting behind it was horrendous.
Yeah.
And I started to bring that out to the marketplace, so that I was showing people where the good was, where the bad was. I've got a spreadsheet which I can send to anyone. I don't keep it updated, but it gives you a base to start with of all the different exchanges, who's got on roads, who's got off road ramps, what their charges are, credit card fees versus ongoing trading fees and things like that. Obviously, I take the highest amount. So if it's on a tiered basis, then you need to go and work that out yourself. But it gives you something to look at where you can see that Uphold, is going to charge you 2.9%, or Bitpanda is going to charge you 3%, or whatever it is. I don't know it off the top of my head. And where's good, where's a good place to go. And then I've got this do not touch list at the bottom. Don't go anywhere near Wirex. Honestly. But yeah, and I talk about things like, I'm very passionate that when we moon, and I really do think we will, very passionate that people need to understand certain things. There is a psychology to a sudden wealth syndrome, which all the YouTubers try and talk about, to make people aware that, you need to plan these things. You've got to have your go bags. You've got to have your exit plan strategy, and you've got to know where you're going to cash some in.
Yes.
But has anybody actually thought about when they cash that in and they start to share that wealth with their family and friends, how that sudden wealth syndrome, they've had no preparedness. There's no way that they can prepare for what you're going to give them.
It's funny you mentioned that, BooBoo. I actually have not really made any of my own videos yet, but I made one yesterday.
Okay.
Actually, my first one. And that was exactly what I talked about. I called it the lottery winner syndrome. And yep. 3 to 5 years, they've already done all the research on this lottery winner or sudden wealth syndrome. And yep. 3 to 5 years after the sudden wealth comes, people are filing for bankruptcy. And
Yeah.
I agree with you. My heart is in the same place as yours. We have got to try to be able to help everyone understand that when XRP moons, and possibly, depending on the amount that we hold now, we could be in the 1%. But if we
Yep.
don't use our brain, then 5 years later, we're going to be right back where we started from. And
Which
so, yeah, I
go
put
on.
a video out about that exact same thing. So I'm really happy to hear you talk about that today. We're on the same wavelength.
Oh, we're on the same wavelength on so many different ways.
That's true.
But the point that I also try and make is that when you get that money, right, when you actually take out, I don't know, your bigger bag, whatever it is that you're going to do, then what you need to do is you need to be able to make that money be your income for the rest of your life. Doesn't matter what you do with the rest of it. You can blow it, you can go down and put it on a black or red, but you need to have a certain amount, a certain figure in your mind of how much you are going to need, at least minimum requirements, for you to be able to live for the rest of your life. Now that could be 20 grand a year, 50 grand a year, 200,000 pound a year, whatever it is that you have. You need to be able to ring fence that money to be able to generate that income, hopefully in a way that can be passed on, legacy to family. So it can be passed on, that wealth can be transferred down to future generations. And it's having that figure in mind and then working that backwards. We have something which is really good in the UK called an investment bond. You have something akin to that in the USA. I'm pretty sure every country is going to have it. But basically, if you put, I don't know, £2 million into an investment bond, you can take out 5% withdrawals from that bond, tax deferred, as long as you are a basic rate taxpayer. So if you've got no other income, then you're not paying tax on that money coming in, and you get that for 20 years. And what you can do is you can use that. So what you do is you put the money away in this bond, and then when you're ready, you can start to take an income from it. So when you run out, if you run out, or you can seal it up, put it in a trust for family.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give my friend some money, but I know full well that when I do, the first thing she will do is give 95% of it away. Right. Because there's other people that she feels is more needy than she is.
Right.
She gives the shirt off her back. She goes without food to feed her animals. She rescues horses and goats and all sorts, and she's an amazing woman. But I want to make sure that she's okay for the rest of her life.
Right.
So I'm going to find a way that I can help her, but at the same time, do it so that the income is going to be paid to her. But when she dies, the money will go to her children.
Right.
I intend to have that much wealth that I can do that sort of thing.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that as well, because I would like to give a shout out to DAI for bringing up I Trust Capital. And I went, and the very first thing that I did was I called them, and they have a free consultation. And I found Blake to be a very open and willing person to listen to every question that I had. And yep. They have a couple of different products that people can work with them on. And one of them that I chose to take advantage of was a Roth IRA. So for tax season 2019, I could put a set amount in there, and then that amount I could buy crypto with it. I chose to buy XRP, and it sits there for 5 years. I'm 58, and it will sit there, BooBoo, for 5 years, and then at that maturity point, all of the gains in that Roth IRA will all be tax free to me. Yeah. And again, that's one of the things that, and I really implore people to think, because they're gonna make mistakes. I have planned out for me what I want to do first is pay off all of my debt,
Yep.
Then I want to pay off all of the debt for all of my family.
Yep.
And then I have a business that I'm building, and I'm going to use part of that money in the scaling of that business. And I live modestly now anyway. At 58, BooBoo, I don't need a Maserati.
No.
I sold
Subaru.
yeah, I have a Ford Ranger truck, and I sold cars for 10 years. And it just, in my own personal opinion, there's not any worse investment than overspending for personal transportation. I don't see any use in that at all. But again, I'm so glad that we got into this in our conversation today, that everybody needs to just slow down and think like a mature grown-up. Be the grown-up in the room. And again, maybe one of the reasons that I'm at this point in my life is because I am 58 and I'm not 28.
Yep.
And so being able to logically think out what a plan could be when this begins to happen. And then the other thing I'm hoping that will happen is that I meet like-minded people like you, and we can find some projects together that we feel like could help others, and that we can go in and work on together. That in a philanthropy kind of a way, because some of the people that I've met in the XRP community are just such tremendous people. And I believe if we can all build our relationships with each other, then we can combine together and do some real good for a lot of other people. And that's one of the things that I'm hoping will happen as an outgrowth of some of the relationships that I've been beginning to build. And again, I kind of feel that connection with you. And it's one of the reasons why I was so happy to be able to have you on and be able to talk with you, so we can begin to build our relationship stronger with each other. And I also want to make sure that you mention and talk about all of your cohorts in Love for Crypto. And another shout out for Scott talking with me the other day. Just the people that I've been able to meet so far in our community has been very heartwarming. So, all right, now I'll be quiet and give you a chance to speak some more.
No, that's fine. I mean, I'm one of those people. The first project that I am going to be throwing myself into, feet first, will be to help some of the charities that are to do with armed forces on the streets. Mm-hmm. I want every single military person who is currently on the streets in a safe space, right? Whether that's because they're there because of mental illness, or whether they're there because the councils and the government has let them down. I'm going to make it my personal remit to make sure that every single one of them, and if that means I need to build specific institutions to take them to help them with their mental health, down to, I mean, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Charles, has a fantastic facility, which I would be interested in putting money towards, because he does a lot of holistic therapies. His go-to is not big pharma. I hope that the current awakening that's happening around the world right now is going to put an end to their stranglehold, if we say, where people are concerned, because I find it terrible, the amount of people. I sell magnetic jewelry, right? So everything I'm wearing, magnets, right? So for me, it's they're static magnets, negative side down against the body. Constantly wearing it helps to raise the pH level of the body. But when I'm talking to people about, I go and do talks to cancer societies and things like that, and I talk to them honestly and openly about the fact that there's more than magnets that will help you. You need to go and do your own research, but be very careful about what you eat. Now, I sat there with a group of people with breast cancer, And they said, why are doctors not telling us this? I said, why aren't you researching what foods are called carcinogenics? Do you understand the term carcinogenics means food that feeds cancer? And they said, no, we didn't realize. And I'm like, for God's sake, where is the culpability? And I understand that people need to do their own research, but if they're not switched onto it, they can't go looking for it. But why is there not something that comes out when people are dealing with cancer that says, right, we can't say it's going to make any difference, but here's a list of carcinogenics and there's the definition of what a carcinogenic is. Can't tell you any more than that, because we're being paid by big pharma because we want you to buy our products. We want you to spend $1 million in America, or we want to make sure that we give you as much chemo as you possibly can take in the UK. But, it's going to make you ill for the short term. It might extend your life, but we can't guarantee that it's not going to come back after 5 years, which is why we have a 5-year term, and then you're classed as a survivor. Because year 6, there's a good chance it's going to come back. So we need to class you as a survivor first for our figures. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. My stepmother just had a recurrence of breast cancer and is going through chemo now for the second time. So what you're talking about now is hitting very close to home for me in my own personal life now. So
right, I'm so sorry. It's but there's other things you can do. People, there's lemon is an astringent. So lemon will help to detox the body after a chemotherapy, right? There's beet. There is something out there about lemons are just as good as chemotherapy. But there's something out there called graviola, which is the sap from a soursop tree. Now, Big Pharma has actually banned anything like that being used because they're saying that there's bad actors in the marketplace. But this graviola, Pharma had it for, I think it was 9 years. 9 years. They took the soursop sap out of the tree and highlighted which enzymes within there actually kills cancer. It makes me so mad. And they've got that, right? They know that, but they couldn't replicate it. And if they can't replicate it, they can't patent it. If they can't patent it, they can't make money out of it.
Right.
So what did they do?
Shut it down.
Australia. There's trees in Australia that they were talking about that have cancer curing that can cure cancer.
Right.
So why is that not? Why is that not exported all over the world? Why can't they? It's a vegetable, right? It's a tree. So why can't you do that? Why are they stopping? My boss went over to Malaysia and bought me back a bottle of the soursop, because they just drink it as a, like we do with aloe vera as a shot. That's what they do over in Malaysia. They took it off him, couldn't bring it through. Right? My sister had breast cancer at the time. So I had to go off and try and find something. And I found that there's something called graviola that's classed as a food supplement that has the soursop. It's made partly from the soursop. So I gave that to my sister. And she's luckily cancer-free. 7 years, I think.
Well, congrats.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's one of those, and everyone will think I'm tinfoil hat, but I do a lot of research about these things. I had to do a lot of research on magnets. The feedback that I get from people that because it's actual business. I've always got more than my full-time job. Always. It's boring if not. So I've got crypto. I've got love for crypto. I've got crypto. I've got Energetics, which is the company that I sell the magnets from, and then I've got my full-time job as well.
Right.
So I'm a bit of a workaholic, but when I put everything down, I do get to relax an awful lot. So I make up for it.
Well, one thing that you had mentioned earlier with your financial background, do you believe that more of the traditional investing and finance people will begin to come along and feel like that diversifying a portfolio into this new digital asset is going to be coming along? Because I know
Oh my God.
my mother and or stepmother and father have a traditional broker, and
Yep.
I mean, everything's going to hell in a handbasket, but I haven't seen him begin to encourage that he wants to begin to diversify their portfolio into anything. All he's doing is telling them, showing them a chart of the stock market for the last 100 years, and just
Yep.
say, oh yeah, it goes up and down. And but I don't think, BooBoo, that what's going on right now doesn't look to me like apples and oranges, because we're into fiat and credit and not backed by gold.
Yeah.
So this is a new animal. Then I don't know if it's just business as usual, that it's going to fluctuate and come back. But do you see that there is any type of a sentiment in the traditional investment world that they're beginning to possibly open up to begin to diversify into this digital asset?
Well, I got in touch with because Fidelity is a big fund manager, both in the USA, but also over here in England. And I got in touch with the Fidelity UK and asked them, when are you going to be introducing cryptocurrencies? And they said they're not, right? So Fidelity America is, but Fidelity UK won't. Left hand, right hand. I don't believe a word of it, by the way. I think there's an awful lot going on behind the scenes, obviously. I see. Okay, how do I explain this? Okay, back when I first joined the industry, we had something called a with profits fund. Now, most investments were either 100% into with profits, or it was 50-50 with profits and mixed. Mm-hmm. And the mixed fund was a portfolio of funds that, you know, that were put together, run by fund managers and everything like that. You didn't really have the, was it 20,000 or whatever it is, funds that you have nowadays. And you didn't diversify the portfolio or anything like that. You just stuck it in there, and then you took your gains every year. Every now and then you'd have a bad year, but then it would be made up. Right. With profits at that time were returning probably around about 30% a year, right? And that's just with profits. So then we've got the recession that happened at the end of the 80s, start of the 90s. And what that did was it took the volatility out of the market completely. So coming into the 90s, those 30% highs and 30% lows, the swing was like that. But what happened was overall, right, it was a plus. Then what you've got, I don't know whether you've heard of the endowment review that we had in the UK.
No.
So basically what you had was when you bought a house, you had a mortgage, and then you had an endowment that would repay the mortgage at the end of it, right? So it was like you pay the interest, and then you had this endowment sitting on the side, and the endowments were set up so that you paid 20% of the actual amount over the 25 years, and then 80% was expected to be the growth. And you also expected to have a lump sum at the end of it. Right, so we went into the 90s expecting the same trend to follow, and there was an awful lot of people over the next 10 years that found out, to their consternation and to their financial loss, that this was no longer the case because the returns weren't there. So you had an awful lot of people. We went into recession, people lost their houses anyway, but you know, these endowments that were supposed to be somebody's, you know, retirement plan, some of them, you know, that they were relying on, didn't happen. And that was my age group. So I was in my 20s by then. So the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds, the 40-year-olds had a head start because they generally would have been, they'd had their house purchase going for a while. So they had a good kickstart. But my age group, forget it. right? It's, you know, and the next generation up, the next 10 years up, we were stuffed, completely stuffed, and the government knew it. So when I saw crypto come in, I did a dance of joy, because I can see that the volatility of crypto is going to inject back that swing highs and lows. And if done properly, you know, proper fund managers will have to be crypto traders. They're going to get paid big money for this. And then basically what that's going to do is going to enable people to have that growth, so that you haven't got a stagnant fund in your pension.
Right.
You know, at the moment, you've got a good portfolio if you're returning 10%. What? You know, 10% growth, you can put it in a bank and get 0.5%. So which one's the best? I mean, you've got no choice. You're stuffed. Money doesn't have, you're not even running up the inflation at the moment if you've got savings plans. So you have to take the chance on that side of it. So I can see this injection coming in of the volatility that's going to be needed to bring back that savings rather than that debt, because you are going to be encouraged to put money away. At the moment, there's no point. There's actually no point. If you put money away in a bank or a savings account, inflation eats it. It's worth less next year buying power than it is currently. So what's the point? You might as well be running yourself with the debt or running on a zero balance, because there's no incentive. That's why people stop doing it. So what I'm hoping is that this is going to revitalize the whole financial industry, and it's desperately needed it. But to answer your question, between 2 and 5%, I can see for low to medium risk investors would be a good foray into the cryptocurrency world within a portfolio. I personally, as soon as I can get it, I mean, I've got my pension sitting 50% in MoneyGram and 50% in SBI. Right, I'm just sitting there, and I'm because I know that they're going to go big. Once crypto is available, so that I can put it within my pension portfolio or my ISA portfolio, which are currently, because the regulation stuff, then I will put more money in and then just watch it fly.
All right, now, if that takes hold, since you're a investment background person, what would the market cap kind of sort of look like? I know we can't get it exact, but if 5% of the traditional investment market went into this digital asset class, what would that look like for us holding XRP?
Hold on, I'll tell you. So the total investments, total world investments, let's have a look at that.
I mean, if we took 5% of the derivative market at $1.2 quadrillion and invested, that was moved over into digital assets, I think we would all be very happy.
Oh, God, yeah. We'll work it out. So 1.2 quadrillion, what's 5% of that? What's 1% of that? What's 0.5% of that? Think about it. I mean, you're talking probably more zeros on the end than my phone would actually be able to calculate anyway. But the fact is, it's going to be big money. But we will all have cashed out mainly before that even becomes a thing. Because I heard something, now don't ever quote me, and this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I have been in the past. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm what's called a paraplanner, which means that I do the research and reports for an independent financial advisor. He gives the advice, I do the paperwork, basically. Oh, God. Basically, if I've lost my train of thought now. If it was
if we have the traditional money move over, is what we were
Yes.
talking about, and then how much it would be, and then we would all sell out before that happens.
Yeah.
Got it?
I listened to something earlier, right? Now, how true it is, I've got no idea. But, okay, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? All right. Coin market cap is manipulating the figures. So the total daily turnover, shall we say, of most of the coins are being manipulated. We know that because they took away a portion of the XRP sales. So that's not a far push to understand that. But what they said was that they are friends with somebody who's in the top 10. They didn't say it by name. That was priced between $30 and $40. And that if the price wasn't being manipulated, they'd be sitting at above $10,000 a coin right now.
XRP?
No. The XRP is like, was it less than $20 per coin? I went straight away and had a look, and it's Litecoin, LTC. But they turn around and say every now and then there's a glitch that happens, and when that glitch happens, the actual price comes up. So we need to be paying attention when this happens, because that is the unmanipulated price. So I'm sitting there, and I you know, my brain turns over, and I just sat there and thought, well, you know, for the small amount of Litecoin that I've got at that price, you know, that in itself is a bag on its own.
Right.
You know, I've only got a couple of hundred, but stuff it, you know. So then you start to think about when this big money comes in. There's have you seen the calculator, the XRP calculator?
Yes.
Right. So when you put that in, I mean, I've had it up to, I think, $13,000 a coin, just by playing with some of the figures and things like that. So I'm way out before then. And if XRP can go up to 13,000, and the rest of the coins will be up there as well, there's only a finite amount of money that I actually need to have to be happy. Right? Debt free, sorted my family out, sorted my friends out, money into charities, and I can kick back. I mean, I don't know whether you know, but I've just signed up for uni. I'm going to university in September.
Congratulations. What are you going to study?
Media studies. Because love for crypto, I can help him. The way that it came about was after Manchester last September. We had an absolute blast. I had a really good time.
Yep.
And I helped them out on some bits and pieces. I ended up streaming the whole thing for them because of circumstances that happened. Got on really well. And they came to me afterwards and said, do you fancy joining Love for Crypto? And I'm like, don't have to ask me twice. I mean, of course I mean, these guys are a lot younger than me. So they've got the vision. But I listen to them, and I get it. I do. I get the vision. Scott is amazing with his foresight on what he sees coming. And he's just really matter of fact. Oh, yeah, of course you're going to end up with a chip in your hand. I'm like, I don't want a chip in my hand. He went, why not? What have you got to hide? Nothing. Well, why wouldn't you want a chip then? Wouldn't you prefer to wave your hand in front of something rather than carry around a handbag? Well, yeah. My purse is rather large. You know, it would mean that I don't have to have lots of different like loyalty cards for Tesco's and Iceland and Shell. You know, all these different loyalty cards that you have to carry around with you so that you can swipe it at the same time so you can get your points and your freebies. I'm like, well, yeah, actually.
Yeah, convenience wins.
Huh?
Convenience is always going to win.
Absolutely. You know, you're not going to be able to travel without it. But the reason they're going to do that is because all your inoculations are going to be stored on the chip. Okay, right? Although I'm not into inoculations and I don't want the vaccine either. Right. But I can see the benefit of the chip. So I watch them, and I mean, Chris Hooded Suburban. He's now left Love for Crypto recently because he's been invited to get involved with a big clothing company. So he works furiously behind the scenes for Love for Crypto. But now he's just basically said, right, that's all yours now. I'm off to do this. And it's like, oh, okay, thanks very much. Kurt is amazing with his geopolitical and his understanding of how the world works and everything like that. But he isn't really into the company thing. So he sees where the company's going, because Love for Crypto is a proper registered limited company, right? So it's not a tin pot organization or anything like that. And he just wants to do his videos from time to time and not get involved, when we're talking about accountants and we've got to have management meetings and, minuted meetings for the directors and things like that. And he's like, no, don't want none of that. Which is why he's left. He's going to go and do his videos on his own every now and then when he feels the want or the need. But it's always been Scott that's the driving force behind it. Right. So basically, Scott does all of the streaming at the moment. I'm still putting little videos up from time to time on my own channel. So Crypto BooBoo.
Like and subscribe.
Thank you. So yeah, but I'm organising. I mean, I was organising LA. I'm gutted. If you knew how many hours that I spent on LA, it's not even. I mean, I was doing some weeks. I was doing almost a full-time job on top of my full-time job. So yeah, it was because I was looking for sponsors and and getting people lined up, the presenters, and then talking to the hotel and promoting it. Going on people's live stream and saying, "Oh, you come to LA." Going on Twitter and banging on and on and on and on. People must get really tired of me because it's LA, 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 and the thing is, it's gutting, absolutely gutting. I understand why, obviously, because it would have been in just over a month. But yeah, to have that much work go down the pan, that's my forte. That's where my organisation skills come in, and that's something that they needed somebody who was able to do that, so they didn't have to worry about it. Right. So, and that's where I love doing it. It's fine. I mean, there is a chance that I jump on every now and then when they do their interviews. So I'll still be going on with Scott when he's doing interviews. I missed the one for McAfee because I'd got a really bad allergy to cats. So
interesting gentleman.
You what?
Interesting gentleman.
McAfee, yeah, absolutely. But he's got a way of looking at the world which, although not in the scheme of things, he's mad as a hatter, but he's good at right. He's bang on, really bang on about what he talks about, and persecuted as well. So these people, I think, need to be heard. I think they need to be heard because they've got a story to tell, and it's really important that we don't shut them up. I had a massive argument on Twitter about the coronavirus, right? So and basically what I said was, it's a flu. It's a flu. It's and it is. That's what it is. It's by definition. But and I have to say it, the snowflakes and the libtards came gunning for me. How can you say that? Why are you telling people? Why are you underplaying it? And I'm like, I'm not underplaying it. I'm in self-isolation. I'm at home for 12 weeks. I'm not underplaying it. What I'm saying is that the response is not represented by the threat.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't matter what you tell me. Look at previous responses to different things. We had a threatening outbreak of Ebola, and we didn't shut down the country.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We had people with Ebola in the UK, and they did not shut down the country. So it's a disproportionate response to a real threat, right? I never said that it wasn't, but oh my God, you'd have thought I'd have said that the sky was pink and that people were needing to be euthanized.
Well,
Honestly.
it's a highly emotional thing, and people's level of fear is way up. So they're going to tend to react a lot more emotionally to these kinds of things right now. So I can understand why
I get it.
saying those kind of things would elicit that type of a response at this time. People are scared.
And I do get that. And my all I was trying to do is I was trying to say to people, question everything.
Mm-hmm.
How, what, why?
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're saying that they don't have enough masks. Why are they saying they don't have enough masks when the people that are making the masks has increased tenfold the amount that they're outputting? And then it works out that there's a company out there or there's a state out there and they were hoarding it and got caught with their hands in the cookie jar. Well, I'm sorry, that's the sort of questions you need to be asking, not sitting in front of the television going, oh, I'm scared it's going to kill me, right? Sit at home, stay put. Don't watch the media, because their spin on it will have you jumping out of your skin, because that's what they do. They use it to terrify you, to make sure that you are still watching them, because they're eliciting an emotional response and it got you on the edge of your seat. But what you should be doing is taking an update once a day or a couple of times a day, if that's what you choose, and then walk away. Do something different. Spend time with the family. Whatever you concentrate on manages your energy levels. Mm-hmm. So if you're concentrating on negative stuff, you're going to give yourself negative energy, which is going to make you more tired. It's going to bring you down. You're going to get more depressed, and you're going to bring down the people around you. Don't, never in a million years. And there's some people that have died from it, and I am so sorry for each and every one of their families. But it's not done to belittle it. It's done to try and poke people to get going, right? Mm-hmm. Do a bit of research, get away from the television, stop sitting on your ass on the couch, mm-hmm. And waiting for the world to end, because there's an awful lot of people out there that do it.
Right. True. All right. So I'd like to switch gears for a second. Where we are in your viewpoint, BooBoo, with how far along do you believe we are from getting some more or closer to mass adoption, and what do you see are the roadblocks that we're at right now? For me personally, I think that one of the last things that needs to fall into place are regulations, and it seems to me like that these things are now beginning to get formulated and fall into place. And I just wanted to kind of, I know where you've been, how you got here, and that was a fascinating story. I as well, in about 2012, stumbled onto Bitcoin. Didn't do anything until 2017 as far as buying any, and then bought my first amount of crypto. It was Bitcoin at 15,000. So sorry, I missed out when I saw that it was 8 cents. And I was fascinated by it, but I didn't take any action. But when I stumbled into XRP, I did begin to take action at that point. So I do believe that when it moons, I'm positioned accordingly. But I wanted to kind of get a feel from you, where we are now and what is going to take place for us to be able to get to, I don't know, what you see next, $3, $5, $10. And I'm personally extremely happy that we hit 19 today. And I know that there was some people in Twitter saying, you went up a penny and you're all excited. Well, yes, frankly, I'm very happy to see it go up, because
that's 5%.
I've experienced buying it at 27, and then a week later it's down to 14. Thank you very much. So if I want to get giddy at 18 to 19, don't rain on my parade.
Exactly.
I just wanted to give you the chance to kind of say, where do you feel like that we are now in this 26-mile marathon that I think Brad Garlinghouse said a year ago we were at mile whatever? How far along do you feel like that we are now?
I think that the financial reset has fast forwarded us an awful long way. I actually believe that we're a lot further along than anyone thinks. I think that the banks already got their CBDCs sorted already. There is something called a sovereign coin, which is a cryptocurrency that has been taken up by a country. And I seem to recall the IMF and Ripple sitting on stage together. And one of the things that the IMF said was that if there was going to be a one world currency, then a country would need to take it on as a currency before they could even think about it. I'm not saying that sovereign is going to be it, but there's countries out there adopting cryptocurrencies. So the Chinese yuan has sort of been a game changer. Them coming out and saying they've been working at it for the last 5 years, I think a lot of people had a drop the mic moment on that. I actually think the rest of the world's been doing it for that long as well. I can see Ripple Net being a lot more places than just the 450 that we saw before it was retracted. I think it would be stupid to think that a company would not take on board something that's going to reduce their costs by huge margins. I think that anybody that thinks that nobody will take up XRP because the banks won't do it is just deluding themselves, because it doesn't make business sense to ignore it.
Yeah, correct.
If they've got 450, if they've got 300, come on, face it. Santander, one of the biggest banks in the world, SBI, and they're sitting there with what? They've got over 50 banks now, is it? With the relationship that they've got in Money Tap, because they took on a whole load more as well.
If I remember correctly too, BooBoo, I think I remember seeing that 80% of the banks in India were also hooked up. So I think that the rails have all been, in the process of getting laid down. And but do you think that it matters if XRP is out in front or used as a bridge asset behind the scenes with all of them, running the plumbing?
So the fact that they changed the software system to call it on-demand liquidity, I think that was a very smart move to do, because that's all we hear now. And if anybody does any sort of search engine on liquidity, then Ripple's going to be in there somewhere. I think that liquidity being a buzzword at the moment is just an indication of what's to come. It's one of those things where you just see it. We're watching history. We're reading the book backwards. We know what it's going to be, but we're having to backtrack to chapter 2 or 3 to where it started to build up, and then we can still see chapter 100, and then we get to chapter 5 when it's like, yeah, I know, but just get on with it. Why don't you? We know it's going to do it. There isn't. I don't think that we are halfway through the marathon yet. I think that we might have jumped another 10 miles though with what's going on. You know, this is the perfect opportunity for lots of change to be brought in. And people will welcome it because they are shit scared of this depression, right? And they're using the word depression. They're not even using, you know, they're not trying to baby us into it. You know, this recession, no, depression. So people are beginning to realize just how deep this goes, and they will welcome it with open arms.
Well, BooBoo, I have a college degree, but it's in radio and TV communications, not economics.
Yeah.
But even when I look at the USA debt clock, and I see that America is getting ready to get to $24 trillion in debt, but that's not the bad part. As shocking as that may sound, it's on the lower right-hand bottom is the bad part. $132 trillion of unfunded liability. Now, the $24 trillion is chump change compared to what the U.S. government has promised all of its citizens. And where are they going to come up with $132 trillion? That they have got, I don't see any possible way that we're not going to have some type of a reset. And I know you've seen the idea that the IMF may step in, issue their SDR, give all of the countries in the world that are members of the IMF a certain amount based, I think, on their GDP, and then allocate all of them a certain set of XRP, and then inflate the value to $1,000. Deal done.
Yeah.
Reset.
Done deal. We've just the thing that made me smile was Boris Johnson basically has just forgiven all of the debt for the NHS. So our National Health Service now has just dropped 12 billion pounds worth of debt.
Wow.
Right? So the UK government has just given them. Right, that's it. Debt gone. I also saw that CIBC has forgiven or dropped down the interest rates for their credit cards in Canada to zero. There's two, the Bank of Canada and CIBC have both reduced their credit card interest rates to zero, right? Just watch what happens around the world. All these little tiny things are just an indication of what's to come, but they can't throw it at us all at once. They've got to literally spoon feed us, because the people that have got their head in the sands, that haven't got a bloody clue what's going on, that have no interest except for their own little bubble, and kudos to you. You know, sometimes I wish I wasn't awoke as much as I am, because, you know, it means I spend an awful lot of time on YouTube. But I have all these different theories in my head about how different things will go, and I'm one of those people that I've always got a plan, right? I have plan A, and if plan A doesn't work, I've got plan B, and if plan B doesn't work, I've got plan C. So once I've actually got through the first level, so say plan A didn't work but plan B did, then after plan B I've got A, B and C, and then if they don't work I've got D, but if D works then I'll go there, and then I've got A, B and C, and then I'll work my way through. So it's I go through the best case scenarios first, and then as time goes on, that opens up what the next scenario is going to be, and then the next scenario is going to be, and that's just the way my brain works. So my friends will all turn around and say, if you want to know, if you want to know how to address a situation, how to plan your life, go and see Boo. Mm-hmm. Right? They've got a saying, you know when you've been boo-booed. Because I have I'm 51 years old. If I couldn't do it, trust me, there'd be something wrong. I've worked my whole life. I've never had children, not been married. So, and it's just one of those things where my brain just works on a level where I can generally see a bigger picture. So I have this input coming, and I watch anything and everything. I don't care whether I agree with it, not agree with it. I bring it all in, and it all gets sat there. And then at some point, the final part of a jigsaw puzzle will drop into place, and the whole thing falls over, and there it is, bang, right? So little things like coin market cap being bought by CZ, right? He's either going to do that for a good reason, or there's a really bad reason that he's done that, right? But that will come to a fore at some point. But from what he paid for it, there's a massive reason that he's done that, right? He put so much money in front of them that they had no choice but to sell, because it's not worth that. So there is a reason. We also need to go and look into the fact that there's no patent on Bitcoin. The guy that runs Satoshi Nakamoto did not patent Bitcoin. Apparently, I couldn't find anything when I went looking to see if that was true. So you know, there is a way that you can patent something that you didn't create if the creator didn't patent it.
Right.
So who then took it up? Where is that? Who's using it? What are they doing with it? Right? Or why hasn't it been approved? Somebody must have grabbed it. Stupid not to. Just little things. My brain goes off. I mean, I go poo, 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 all around the place. But I love it. I absolutely love it. You know, it's, for me, it's mentally stimulating. You know, half the stuff that I come up with turns into shit, you know. But it's a journey. It keeps me
occupied, curious.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, I don't watch TV. I switched off. The only reason as the TV is on in this house is because I'm living with my mum at the moment, and worked that one out. I came back, got into my house, renovated it, sold it, knew that I had to sell it quick because I saw the recession coming in, recession. Managed to sell my house last November. Then the other house that I own, my tenant refused to move out. I thought it was the end of the world. I had to move back to my mum temporarily. And then she actually is forcing me to take her to court to move her out, which is a long drawn out process. But look at the silver lining that's happened. I'm actually living with my mum at a time when we're all on lockdown. Right? So not only I can look after her, we're looking after each other. You know, I've got quality time to spend with her. She's got somebody else in the house. So everything, every little thing. And I'm very much of the mind that even if it looks like a really bad thing, there's always going to be a silver lining. So look at what's happening at the moment, people on lockdown. Silver lining. You're spending time with your family. You're not being frantic. You're not running from A to B unless you're one of the unfortunate people who are doing a fantastic job as key workers. But the majority of the population has just taken an absolute deep breath and gone, wow, right? Wow. We can keep talking. I mean, my family are talking more than we've ever talked on WhatsApp, family chat, right? Because we're all, making sure each other's all right. Wasn't happening before, a phone call every now and then. Even the younger, my sister's children, they're jumping in as well and making sure that everybody's all right and touching base and things like that. Wasn't happening before. So there's good things coming out of a bad situation. And I think that, the meditation, did you join the meditation the other night? How amazing was that? The ability to, it was 3:45 in the morning here, so I had to set the alarm. But to wake up and to know that there are thousands of people around the world linking with your energy. Oh, God, goosebump, please. Linking with your energy, right? And it's all for the greater good. And it didn't matter whether you were in America, England, Norway, France, Japan, you know, around the world. We had people around the globe. And we raised the frequency of the planet because that was the plan and that's what we did. And when people focus on the positive of that side of things, you can move mountains. You can absolutely move mountains.
Well, I believe that our whole planet is moving in an evolution of consciousness, and I'm eternally optimistic. I think it's all going to end up wonderfully well, but it doesn't mean that there are not going to be some uncomfortable parts of it. When a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, when they go through that metamorphosis, there's some pain in the change. And when a snake is shedding its skin, there's some painful times struggling to get out of that old skin. But again, I'm a person that I'm just eternally optimistic. I'm not a cup half full guy. I'm a cup half, 3/4 full guy. And I just think everything's going to be okay. And I mean, on the other side of that, BooBoo, we're going to croak anyway, right? So why not go through with having a big smile on my face and enjoying myself as much as I can either way? So,
you know, I've died, right?
I didn't know that.
I've died twice. Asthma. Hence the reason why I'm isolated for 12 weeks. I've got a knowledge where I am not afraid to die, right? When I came back, I've got a memory, but when I came back, I chose to come back. And I know that there's a reason that they wanted me to come back as well. I just don't know what that reason is. And as far as I'm concerned, every day is a bonus. You know, yes, I work too hard. Yeah, I'm a bit intense at times, but oh my God, am I happy to be alive? You know, am I happy to be living? I had no idea these times were coming. And yeah, it's going to be rough for a while, and I can make a difference. You know, it's this opportunity that's been given to us is a gift, right? It's not just a gift that we can make a difference in our lives and our friends' lives. We can make a whole difference in the world. If this pans out the way that I think it's going to pan out, and we're going to go through an absolutely paradigm shift in our consciousness, in our community, in our bodies, spirituality, you know, this reset, this financial reset is going to, hopefully, it's going to enable us to have a proper breath as humanity. You know, this is going to bring the whole world together. We're working together to beat the virus, right? Not just as a country, but as a world. You know, and yes, there are the bad actors that are going to try and turn this into something that benefits them, New World Order, whatever it is. But if we don't allow them to have their agenda, right? If we are eyes wide open, then they can't get away with it. And we can use this to our best benefit. I honestly think that we can do that, but people need to open their eyes and stop being so narrow-minded.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's a wonderful, positive message. One thing that I hope that you will do is in the future come back. I'll invite you again as time passes to come back, and we can update each other on how things are moving along. And I just am honored and blessed that you chose to be able to come and spend some of this time with me. And I hope, again, I really did mean it. I hope that we can get together with some of the other influencers and some of the other people in the XRP community and find some projects that we feel like can do some good together, because I think that there are some other like-minded people that feel about that subject the same as you. And so I did want to make one last little shout out for what XRP Army News is all about. When I first got into the space, I spent and still do maybe 2 or 3 hours a day watching XRP videos. First started out with more crypto stuff, and then kind of got more zeroed in on XRP, because I believe it's the standard. I personally believe that it has the use case and the utility that is going to be utilized more than what I see in the other projects. So I had to spend time trying to go onto YouTube and onto Twitter to be able to find the influencers' content that I wanted to watch. And so I own a digital marketing company. So I got together with my partners and I asked them to build a website initially for my own selfish personal use, to be able to make it easier for me to be able to find my favorite influencers' content. And so we put together XRP Army News. And so we've got on that site, it's all free. We're not asking anybody for any money. There's no membership fee, no nothing. It's just a website people can go to. And my favorite influencers have their channels there. So, and it updates on an hourly basis. So when any of the influencers put a video up, it will update automatically. And then we also added the Twitter feeds. So if anybody wants to see any of the latest tweets from some of our favorite influencers, they're all there. And then we also put an app together, and it's a very unique kind of an app. Apple and Google have something called a native app. And what that means is you've got to have a Google or Apple account to download it to your phone. And it's also restricted to only being able to be used on a mobile device. The apps that we build are called progressive web apps, and doesn't take up any data space on your phone. And you don't have to have an Apple or Google account to have it on your any device. And it works not just on the phone, but on a tablet or a website. And we put that out there as well, just so people could have more access to their XRP content if they wanted to. So I encourage everyone to take a look at our website, take a look at and get our app. It's all free. We're just trying to be able to help as many people get as much information about XRP as I can help make that happen. So
that's amazing. Well, on another note, just to bring it to the fore, you know that I'm organising Manchester on the 5th of September. So Love for Crypto, we've got a conference in Manchester on the 5th of September, obviously. It's a one day at the moment. I'm obviously waiting to see what happens with the lockdown. We spoke to the hotel today, and it's still going to go ahead. They haven't cancelled. They're not intending. There's nothing that's happened to make them think that it's going to not go ahead in September, because we're expecting life to have gone back to a bit more normality by then. Tickets are, I think, £40 for the day, and we've got various different speakers going in. So it's like a mini LA. Which will give everybody a chance to get together. But on a separate note, I arrange monthly meetups when we're back out, where people from the UK, I pick a place, being various different places, but I pick a place generally with a cheap hotel by the side of it. And we meet up in a pub, restaurant, whatever, and I take it for the day with newbies, oldies, everyone just comes in. But one thing that I can absolutely promise is when we moon, I will put together a whole agenda of different places, Liechtenstein, Malta. I think maybe, Barbados or something is going to have to be there at some point, somewhere where we can go and meet up. where we will have a list of places where people can go to come and say hi together. So those that have got families, you know, it'll be somewhere in a couple of places in America, different places around the globe, where it's just going to have one focus point, and then everyone can get together. And I think that that is going to be, epic.
Yes,
Absolutely epic, because it's like, I've never met you before, but I class you as a friend. And we talk to these people who we have never met, you know, and sometimes never even had this interaction. We just tap away on the phones and chat away to them, but they're firm friends, you know. And when I go to every meetup I possibly can. Honestly, it's amazing. It's like walking into family. You know, I went to Holland a few weeks ago. Yeah, a few weeks ago. And Ferdy walks in, XRP twin. And it's, you know, it's like my brother from another mother. we literally, it's amazing that unity that you feel with the people in the community. And it's going to be such an epic meeting wherever we go and when we meet up. It's going to be amazing.
Yes, I agree.
I can't wait. And to put a time scale on that, if it doesn't happen by I reckon by the middle of next year, I think we're going to see some really, I think March, it's got to happen before October, because is it November 2021 or November 2021, ISO 2022. It's got to be in, which means everything's got to be in place. They'd have to have tested it. Price will have to have gone up by then.
Well, they say that 2020 is the year of the digital asset, so I'm hoping for some more price action in 2020. But BooBoo, I'd like to again thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. And again, the reason that I'm doing these interviews is I would like to be able to find all of, you know, we all know who the influencers are. We're all watching the same videos every day. But I felt like that there was a space for all of the XRP community members, just the rank and file, like me, to be able to have a chance and a place to be able to come on and share what they've got to say, so everybody can get to know who they are a little bit better, because everybody's got a note to play in this symphony. And
yes,
that was the reason that I am inviting people to come on to this platform, because there's more of us than there are these influencers that everybody knows of. And so I'd like to invite anyone watching this broadcast, if there's anybody out there who has anything to say in the XRP Army, then just get in touch with me, and I'll be more than happy to be able to give you the chance to share your story, because we all want to hear it. We've all got a story to tell, and they're interesting. You know, I'm interested in what every one of the people in the XRP community, what they have to say. And again, I'd like to thank you again for honoring me.
No, thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you very much for the time that you spent with me today, and God bless.
And you, be safe.
Be safe. Live long.
And the huddle.
Live long and huddle. Take care, BooBoo.
And you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.